coming today. Thank you, Speaker Pelosi. My name's Jordan. I'm one of the organizers of this event, and I'm so beyond excited and proud to be here with all of you today. And I'm not only just proud to be here, but proud to be partnered with the incredible people that have made this event possible. We're with the Newtown Action Alliance, but I'd like to quickly give thanks to the Brady campaign, Change the Ref, Lives Robbed, March 4th, March for Our Lives, and Team Enough for their endless, unwavering support. We could not have done it without you guys. And I'm honored to know you, honored to work with you, and honored to be here with you today. And I'll turn it over to Jackson, my co-organizer.
Today, you will all be hearing from members of these organizations and wonderful members of Congress whose work has enabled the gun violence prevention movement to gain traction in Congress and has inspired measures that save lives. We're championing the federal assault weapons ban, and you'll hear from many students and advocates today who are brought here because of the lack of this legislation. So I'm very excited to bring someone up on stage who has been a gun violence prevention champion, and without her, we may not have had any votes at all. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Thank you so much, Jackson and Jordan, for your leadership. It's an honor to be here with both of you and in each and every one of you. Thank you to the courageous survivors who are here sharing your stories, turning your pain into action, horror into hope, so this doesn't happen again. We keep saying that. Grateful to Generation Lockdown. How many are here for Generation Lockdown? Thank you for your leadership. You're tirelessly fighting to make your schools, homes, communities safer. Because of you who have suffered lockdown, have experienced lockdown. You are our leaders with the experience and the energy to get the job done, and that is to ban assault weapons. There's one point I will be followed by our David Cicilline, who has persisted with the assault weapon ban again and again and again. And I see the Oliver family. I see Manny. Hi, darling Manny. Thank you for your courage. And where's Patricia?
She's right there.
Hi, Patricia. And let me just also, there's so many friends here, but acknowledge Maxwell Frost. We have the honor now of serving in Congress with someone who has been there, knows the story, and is a leader on this issue. Maxwell Frost, you'll be hearing from him. And of course, Lucy McBath, who lost her son. She has made all the difference in the world in our passing that bipartisan bill. Would not have happened without her. My final point is this, because you have a lot of speakers. Right now, our country is suffering from the filthy lucre of money that is associated with guns. And it's deadly, it's lethal, and the rest. But it is also connected to another lethality, and that is fentanyl. The ingredients for fentanyl are in China. They come to Mexico, they're processed there, they come over the border with cartels, Honduran and other cartels. And you know what goes back? Assault weapons. This is making our continent so dangerous. And on the streets and in our communities, assault weapons are an evil. But the trade-off with fentanyl is even more deadly. It's making the situation in Mexico almost criminal and pervasive. So the assault weapons ban are an evil in themselves. We must be banned, but they also are perpetuating other deadly forces in our society. So thank you for your leadership in all of this. This generation, lockdown generation, will make the difference in all of it. And for our children, our grandchildren, for all of you, and our great president, he never misses an opportunity to say, we must ban assault weapons. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank all of you. Thank you. Do I yield to you? Do I yield? Oh, no, it's my privilege to yield to the champion on this issue. Relentless, persistent, year in and year out, just until we succeeded in getting it again. I was there when we passed it in the 90s. We know the success it achieved. So does David Cicilline, who came later and picked up that, he took the charge and has led it until we finally had the votes to come to the floor would not have happened without David Cicilline's leadership on the assault weapon ban. Mr. Cicilline.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before she leaves the stage, make no mistake about it, we would not have had the vote on the assault weapons ban on the floor without Speaker Pelosi, who remains my speaker today, but a great champion for this legislation and a great champion for gun safety. Good morning, everyone. I am really delighted to be here and inspired by all of you who have turned out today, but also have turned your own experiences, your own pain into real action, who work every single day to prevent anyone else from experiencing the loss and trauma that you have lived through as a result of gun violence. Just 2 days ago, on Wednesday morning, a 17-year-old boy brought a gun to school that was found during a routine daily search implemented as part of a school safety plan. Unfortunately, the student shot and wounded 2 staff members who were conducting the search, but thanks to the administrators and the safety plan, further carnage was avoided. I don't even want to imagine what could have happened if that safety plan had not been put into place. Since the Columbine High School shooting in 1999, more than 344,000 students have experienced gun violence in this country. In 373 school shootings that have taken the lives of at least 192 children, educators, and others. Another 421 victims were injured in these incidents. And behind those numbers, as you all know, is a real person, a real family, a real community that has been devastated by gun violence. In 2022, we saw more school shootings than in any other year since 1999. And so we need to act, and I want to say first to Generation Lockdown, we have failed you. It's a national embarrassment that an entire generation can unite around their shared experience of active shooter drills and school massacres. It should horrify every single American that children are having to lead the fight against gun violence because we haven't done enough to protect you. And yet yesterday, as I sat through a hearing with the aim of abolishing the ATF and dismantling gun regulations in this country, I, like all of you, are sick of it. Gun violence is not an incurable disease or natural disaster. It's preventable. Last July, for the first time in nearly 3 decades, the House, in a bipartisan vote of 217 to 213, passed the assault weapons ban, a proven policy that will save lives. And there is no good reason that this ban shouldn't be reinstated. It will reduce gun massacres in this country, and we know it. These weapons of war that were designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible do not belong in our communities. They don't belong in schools and grocery stores and movie theaters and hospitals and nightclubs and in festivals and in dance halls that turn those venues into bloody killing fields. And they're used to murder our children, our friends, our neighbors, and the police officers trying to protect us. It's unconscionable that anyone can walk into a store and legally purchase a weapon capable of inflicting the carnage that we've seen in Monterey Park and Highland Park and Buffalo and Uvalde and Atlanta and Sutherland Springs and Las Vegas and Orlando and Parkland, and the list goes on and on and on. As many of you know, the original assault weapons ban was in place from 1994 to 2004, and based on clear evidence, it was effective in reducing mass shootings. And we, of course, reintroduced the assault weapons ban, and we saw a significant drop in fatalities during the time of the assault weapons ban, and the minute it expired, gun massacres and fatalities increased. And so we know that when an assault weapon is used during a mass shooting, 6 times as many people die. Research has estimated that if we had a federal assault weapons ban in place, we'd see a 70% decline in mass shooting deaths. Think about that, a 70% decline. So I'm really delighted. As some of you know, I'm unfortunately leaving Congress for a new venture. I am really thrilled that Lucy McBath, my colleague, will take on the leadership role of the assault weapons ban. This is an individual who has been such an extraordinary champion, someone who has personally experienced the consequences of gun violence when she suffered the unspeakable loss of her son, Jordan. But she has taken that loss and transformed it into an extraordinary use of power to bring about real change in this country. She's been one of my best friends in Congress, one of the greatest voices on gun safety in the country, and it is now my extraordinary honor to present to you the amazing, powerful, eloquent Lucy McBath.
Well, good morning or good afternoon. And as I said, no sleet, no rain, no hail, no snow would keep us from fighting for gun safety. That's right. Well, good morning. I am honored and flattered to be standing here beside Representative David Cicilline and Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. I could not be more grateful for the confidence that David Cicilline has shown in me to carry on the important and indelible work that he has done to protect our students, to protect our schools, and to protect our children. Everyone here in Congress will be sad to see him leave, but none more than me when he leaves a little bit later this year. And I know that we will have lost an advocate for all those who are survivors of gun violence like myself and so many of you that are with us here today. I also know that the legacy of this work in Washington, it will live on. David Cicilline's work will live on. It will live on in the legislation that he has already passed to help save lives. It will live on in the survivors and the activists here today who work every single day of your lives to make a difference. And it will undoubtedly live on in his continued efforts to make life better for the American people as he goes forward. And I look forward to the day that I can be such a small part of that legacy, of his legacy. The day that the assault weapons ban is signed into law. The day that we as a nation stand up and say enough is enough. We say that weapons of war do not belong in our streets, they do not belong in our schools, and they don't belong in our classrooms. It has been a decade since Sandy Hook. Some of the first graders who survived that day are actually here with us today. They're a little bit older and taller, and every time I see them, but then again, our children are only children just for a little while. Any parent will tell you how fast time seems to travel as our children continue to learn and they continue to grow. As they make friends in school, chase their dreams and their passions, and discover more about who they are and what they can become. And many of these young people that I meet, those who have survived a school shooting, I see a sadness that accompanies their strength. I see a child who was forced to grow up faster than any child ever should be forced to grow up. And I see a pain that only stepping over a friend covered in blood could ever bring. 10 years after Sandy Hook, I see young people the same age as my son fighting to keep the world safer for the people that they love and the people that they cherish. They're here today because we failed them. Yes, America, we have failed them. They are here because we did not keep them safe. We did not keep you safe. They are here because the people they looked up to would not help to protect their lives. And after all of that, after a generation was forced to grow up with lockdowns in their schools and mass murder in their classrooms, they're still here. You're still here fighting for what is right and for what is just. You're fighting for your lives, for your futures. Fighting to protect the children and families that you love and the adults who could not keep you safe. Our kids are showing the rest of us what's really important in life. The weight of change resting on the shoulders of students who are forced to grow up long before they've lived long enough to grow old. My son was just 17 years old when a man pulled up next to him and his friends in the car that they were sitting in. He antagonized the boys and told them to turn down what he described as their thug music. He called them gangbangers. He called them thugs. And then that man pulled out a gun from his glove compartment, took a shooter's stance, and shot 10 rounds into their car. And Jordan, my only son, was hit by those bullets 3 times, killing my only son. I had dreamed of who Jordan was going to become. And as I look in the faces of each and every young person here, I do see Jordan. I see my son. I dreamed of watching him walk across the stage at his high school graduation, filled with the excitement of college, hope for his future, and dreams for a world that only a teenager can have. These are the dreams that I see when I look out into this crowd. A crowd of young people, the same age as my son Jordan. A decade after Sandy Hook and a decade after Jordan was taken from me. After Jordan's death, after Parkland and Sandy Hook, I made a promise to Jordan. I made a promise to my community and to the American people. I made a promise to you. I promised you and I promised this nation that I would spend the rest of my life fighting to keep our families all across this country safe from unnecessary gun violence and from the pain of losing a loved one. I promised that I would take all of that devotion that a mother has for her child, that I have for you, all of that love that I poured out of my soul and from my tears, that I would do everything in my power to keep this community safe, to keep America safe. And today I promise that I am with you in this fight. I am never going to leave you in this fight. And that together we can turn generation lockdown into generation freedom. You need to be free to live in this country unfettered by unnecessary gun violence, unfettered by the fear of being able to walk to school, sit in your classrooms, go to the movies, unfettered by the fear of this public health crisis that is destroying us. And today I promise that I am with you in this fight. I promise that with the help of every child forced to grow up too fast, that we will succeed for every child who will never get to grow old. I promise that all of you who have found strength within your circumstances and purpose within your pain, that we will make life better for the next generations. We have no other choice. I promise you, we will win in the end. Thank you, and God bless you. Please forgive me. It is my distinct honor and joy to introduce to you one of the amazing stalwarts and fighters on the front line for March for Our Lives, keeping our children and our families safe, Representative Frost.
How's everybody doing? Well, it's so great to be here with everybody. I'm Congressman Maxwell Alejandro Frost, and I proudly represent Florida's 10th Congressional District in the United States Congress, Central Florida.
Max, you want an umbrella?
I'm good. It's just a little bit. I'm good. I'm from Florida. I'm used to walking around in the wetness. You know, my district, Central Florida, is known for a lot of things. Land of Disney, land of Universal, tourism. But unfortunately, we're also known for one of the worst mass shootings in our country's history. When armed bigotry, armed hate came to Pulse nightclub in my home. And 49 angels were murdered in a place that was supposed to be a safe space for them. One of my good friends, Brandon Wolf, who is a survivor of the Pulse shooting, has dedicated the rest of his life to fighting for a world where everybody has the resources they need, where everybody's safe, where we demand from our legislators that they see the world through the eyes of the most vulnerable. And I always like to think if someone like Brandon, who out of that trauma found action, then it's up to all of us to continue to honor with action every single day. I'm often asked a lot of questions about young people and Gen Z. I have no idea why. But people, a top question people ask is, what separates Gen Z, what separates young people from older generations? And unfortunately, it's one of the facts that our generation is defined by mass shootings. Generation lockdown. I oftentimes call us the mass shooting generation. Because when I go and I speak with folks currently in high school right now, and I ask them about mass shooting drills, most of the time I hear people say they feel like they do more active shooter drills than fire drills. This is the reality for students in America right now. And we have a Republican majority that has the audacity to put forth a bigoted bill about parental rights that just passed in the House of Representatives. I voted no. I voted hell no. But the point here is this, and I made this point on the House floor. If they actually care about students, if they actually care about what happens in the classroom, why are they not doing anything on gun violence? Why are they not doing anything to ensure that kids are not completely murdered and shot to death in their classrooms where they're supposed to be there to learn? Yesterday in a hearing, yesterday was a very difficult day. We were in a hearing with a ton of activists and organizers, and Manuel and Patricia Oliver were there with us. Dragged out of the room and arrested for speaking out about the fact that their son was shot to death in his classroom. Because oftentimes the opposition just wants to talk about one thing and not talk about the victims and the families. But like Manny always says, Joaquin is not a victim, he's an activist. And if Joaquin can be an activist, then we should and continue to be activists and continue to organize and continue to tell our stories. The story of us, who we are, the story of our community, and building a world where we don't have to fear being gunned down in our communities, where we don't have to fear being gunned down in our classrooms, where folks, especially in black and brown communities, where people are being gunned down every day. And there are not people who survived gun violence, there are people who are surviving gun violence. We all deserve to live in a world where that doesn't exist. Because what I always tell folks, especially parents, and parents who disagree with me, God forbid if your child died in this country right now, the most likely reason for that death would be because they were shot and killed. In 2023, in this country right now, that's not freedom. That's not liberty. That's not what this country was founded on. And so that's why I'm going to continue to fight, and it's great to be here with some amazing colleagues. Speaker Pelosi, Congressman Fume was just here, Lucy McBath, David Cicilline. There are people in Congress fighting day in and day out to build the world that we need. But what we know to be true is this: there's not one politician that's going to save us. It has to be every single one of us working together, right? I have the honor, I was an organizer. I've worked on campaigns. I've protested. I've been tear gassed. I've been maced. I've been jailed for what I believe in. I'm also a musician, and I love to play music. And I truly believe that we need a movement that values every part of the movement. The electoral work and voting is incredibly important. The protesting is incredibly important. The storytelling is incredibly important. We need our artists. We need our influencers, our teachers, our clergy, everybody, business leaders at the table to build a world where we don't have to say this, where there isn't a generation defined by mass shootings and trauma. And that future can't exist. The late Barbara Jordan said something that I keep with me every day. What the people want is simple. A country as great as its promise. I want to ask you all a question. Does the promise of this country include children being gunned down? No. Does the promise of this country include people being gunned down in their own neighborhoods? No. Hell no. And so I'll continue to fight with y'all every single day for a future where we don't have to fear gun violence. And where all these organizations, we need to put them out of business. We need all these organizations so we can focus on other issues. And this is the future that we deserve. So again, y'all, thank you so much for having me. And have a good day. I am so excited to introduce someone I've known for a while, and I want to say I got involved in this fight when I was 15 years old. What changed my life was coming to the vigil here that was hosted by the Newtown Action Alliance a decade ago. At that point, I was a part of an organization called Junior Newtown Action Alliance. I think I was the one Floridian. And I want to say, it really like brings a smile to me to see the new Junior Newtown Action Alliance. And I'm just here to support them and support everyone who's doing the work. So, either way, please give it up for Jackson from the Newtown Action Alliance!
Thank you, Max. Yeah, we knew Max when he was 15, and now he's in Congress. Which speaks to where this movement is going. Thank you all for coming out in the rain. You know, gun violence doesn't take a rain check, so we are not going to either.
That's right.
On December 14th, 2012, I was 6 days away from turning 11 years old, and I was forced to confront the reality that I might die in my first period classroom. While in 6th grade at Reed Intermediate School in Newtown, Connecticut, my classmates and I huddled under our desks for hours, fearing that any of the upcoming moments could be our last. In the 4 hours I spent under my desk, just a mile down the road at Sandy Hook Elementary, the lives of 26 of my community members were taken with an AR-15. I know this is unsettling for many of you to hear, because it is. What's even more unsettling is that this has become a regular occurrence today in America. Since the Sandy Hook shooting occurred, I've grown up flinching at the sound of loud noises, growing anxious in public spaces, and fighting for legislative change here in Washington. Before I took my first government class in middle school, I was already well versed in how to lobby federal legislators and organize community rallies. This is far from normal. Only in America can children become survivors of gun violence and advocates for gun violence prevention before they can properly use multiplication, addition, or spell. Because this is only in America that we have continually ignored the cries of survivors and students begging for more than just empty thoughts and prayers. On February 14th, 2018, I had just recently turned 16. In my first period class at Newtown High School, I learned that 17 students and educators were gunned down in Parkland, Florida. I knew how those students felt. Valentine's Day, meant for love and candy, now becomes synonymous with the loss of your friends, trauma, your family, teachers, and your youthful innocence. This is far from normal. On March 24th, 2018, 5 years ago today, I joined those very students on stage just minutes down the street from where we're standing right now. In front of nearly 1 million people, with hundreds of thousands around the country and the world, we pleaded for change and we begged for change. And each time, politicians cared more about campaign contributions from the NRA than our futures and chose guns and profit over innocent children's lives. We're sick and tired of empty promises and political excuses from people who swear an oath to protect us. On May 24th, 2022, I was 20 years old. It's the time of year that every student anxiously awaits the start of summer break, when our favorite childhood memories are formed. But children and educators in Uvalde, Texas, didn't live long enough to see summer break, only because they attended school that day. The police took over an hour to enter the school and save children's lives because they feared that the shooter's AR-15 would penetrate their body armor. This is far from normal. On February 13th, 2023, the evening before the 5-year mark of the Parkland shooting, Michigan State University became the next in a long line of communities hit by preventable gun violence. 3 college students never came back to their dorms that night. I frantically texted my friend, who was in lockdown with me when I was in 6th grade, now a student at MSU, if she had survived and if she was okay. No country like America should students grow up healing from a mass shooting in their hometown only to be re-victimized by a mass shooting at their university 10 years later. This is far from normal. Today is March 24th, 2023. It is the 5-year anniversary of the Parkland shooting, the 10-month mark since the Uvalde shooting, and it would have been Nicholas Dworet's birthday, a victim of the Parkland shooting. Only in America do we share so many tragic dates on one day. I'm 21 years old, and I've now spent 10 years fighting gun violence. The leading cause of death in America is not cancer, it's not car accidents, and it's not drugs. It's gun violence. The most prominent memories of my childhood consist less of riding bikes and spending time with my friends, but learning the ins and outs of the American political system so I can better ask not to be shot in school. As I look toward my graduation in 2 short months, it feels more a product of luck than certainty that I've made it this far. Yes, this is far from normal. My generation has grown up under the shadow of gun violence, the constant fear that we could be next, just because we're students in America. We have spent so much of our lives advocating for change that one among us has actually grown up, ran for, and been elected to Congress. My friends aren't just friends, they're also survivors, fellow advocates, and family members of victims. Because we've created an entire generation of young people so painfully familiar with everyday shootings that they learn to duck and cover before they can read. This is far from normal. Let's ban assault weapons once and for all so that the next generation can grow up and survive the school day. Thank you. And introducing Stephen, who we have that? Oh, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, everybody.
Well, let's give Jordan and Jackson, let's let them know how much we love them. Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise. Let our voices never be silenced. I'm honored to come today and to try and make sense out of this chaos. And all of those who are standing here as gun victim survivors, for all of those parents who have loved ones had to bury the best hope of America, each and every one of you. And all of those who would come and look at us standing here and look at us in disdain, we'll be victorious over you. You will never win over us. We will never cease. We'll never stop. We'll never give up. And I wanted to come here today before leaving for Texas, where I fight every day for sensible respect to lives lost in the intensity of gun violence. Jordan told me that she's from Sandy Hook. I know that many of you are living testimonies. I know that Brett Cross and the Rubios are here from Uvalde. I spent a lot of time in Uvalde. I will not forget you. We held a hearing in the Judiciary Committee. I was determined to overcome those naysayers. Don't have a hearing on Uvalde. I want the record to show that the violence is unending and continuously driving us to insanity. And so your presence here today, the shadow of the Washington Monument, and at the foot of the United States Capitol, where frivolity should be overcome by all of your courage. Don't stop. It is imperative that we announce to the world that now homicide is the #1 killer of our precious future, our children. That guns are more than human beings in the United States. Who are we as a people? Where are our values and our morals? And so I want to pledge to you today, without note or a long litany of statistics, that the fight is for the strong, for the courageous. It is for those who, even in the moments of darkness and pain, that you will say that keeps me going, is that I want an America that shows that we too are America. That I cannot be left out because I am sensible, because I want to ban assault weapons, and I want that ban to go into effect now, forever. The universal background check. I want it now. As a member of the United States Congress, I would literally say I might have grown up in this Congress. And I have supported gun safety, gun-sensible laws from the time I set foot. You won't remember this story, but I came here and Columbine was on my heels. And they used makeshift assault weapons that killed a myriad of people. Aurora, the ancient times, but the pain still goes. Texas, Virginia Tech. I went to Uvalde in the funerals. I went to El Paso in the funerals. I went to North Carolina, South Carolina, the funerals. The Buffalo families have come and I've hugged them. And the list goes on. I spent time with the Sandy Hook families. The Pulse nightclub. Our loved ones in Florida. How many stories are we going to offer our prayers and sympathy? And so as I leave you, let me forever acknowledge that in your pain, let no one tell you it's all right, it's going to go away. In your pain, you turn that into a fury that is so strong that you're like a ball of fire and you're rolling across this place called America and this place called the most powerful lawmaking body in the world, and you will not let your fire be extinguished. They will see you, and those who are blindly continuing to talk about the Second Amendment as a false argument for those of us who have sense and want to be able to save lives, for those in this list of litany that I have called, never be daunted by those people. Be strengthened by your beauty, and your tears are tears of strength. I will stand with you to the very end. I'll fight across America. I believe that the President of the United States can draw out of the United States Senate and move it into the House, or find a way that we can work with him. Mr. Biden, I love you. You are anti-guns. You are, in fact, for the people. I am happy about that, and we're going to work with you. We're going to get these ugly, vicious guns out of the hands of those who do not have the right to have them, and we're going to stop the violence in America. Ban assault weapons. Have courage. Have no fear. Stand for what is right. I stand with you. I bleed for you, but I love you. I stand with you. This is a man who has a deep pain. He wished he was not on the list, but he is. And I've watched him be fearless, and I'm proud to call him a fellow American and a fellow Texan and a fighter that will never give up until we come to our senses and end the horrific horrors of gun violence and the horrors of guns killing children around the nation. Brett Cross, please welcome him. I love him.
I want to take this time to speak directly to Congress. See, we will talk and talk and talk, but there's never really any visuals. So I want to show Congress this. See, this is where Uzi was shot in the spine, aimed down. He was in the corner with his classmates, hands over his head, not making a sound. More than likely praying this isn't real. Hoping me or his mom would come to the rescue, but we couldn't. We failed. Now all we're left with are your thoughts and your bless yous and your prayers. See, before he could even make a noise, it was too late. He became a crime scene. The sounds of children screaming have been removed is now a theme. Experienced so often, it's a problem. See, the size of a 10-year-old's coffin can't be lost upon your conscience. All because the government wanted to let a law expire in 04, which opened the door, making it more accessible to let blood pour. Children's bodies entered the morgue, some unidentifiable aside from the shoes that they had worn. Uzi was left stomachless, his body was ripped and was torn. Parents presented DNA for verification, but it could have been worse. I say in quotations. This wasn't a one-time only, an aberration of sorts. Sandy Hook, Parkland, Santa Fe, and there's more. The number one killer of children is gun violence, but despite this, y'all want to sit there in silence, or you want to argue that criminals don't obey laws. Well, then by that logic, fuck it, we ought to abolish them all. Except the law is a barrier meant to make it hard and evil doing exhausting. If you're a law-abiding citizen, what exactly is it costing? If you don't plan to murder masses in shopping centers and classes, movie theaters, dance halls, concerts, and Sunday masses, then the fact is you're left lacking for nothing. See, looking at the world through your rose-colored glasses is attractive, but willful ignorance has you captive. To those in Congress who support us but won't co-sponsor this bill, you're just as bad as the rest. At least they're keeping it real. And to those who chose to oppose, you've exposed, your morals are vacated. Seeing us wearing our children's faces on our shirts isn't a fashion statement. Your child could easily be featured. This ain't something straight out of fiction. If you won't do it for the children of our nation, do it for your own kids then. Are children's lives worth more than talking points and semantics? Let me change that to a statement from a question. Our children's lives are worth more than talking points and semantics. More than the money you receive from the lobbyists who demand it. And while you're abandoning people, your grandstanding is evil. By choosing money over morals, your actions are actually lethal. In our shooting, there was only one culprit. Yeah, y'all ain't fired the bullet, but by sitting idly by, you made it clear you support it. I would like to introduce Mr. Stephen Abrams.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Abrams. I'm from Team Enough. This week, it's been an honor to work with this coalition. We've had meetings in the House, in the Senate, and we are going to keep the pressure on. We are going to make sure that everybody is talked to, make sure that we get more co-sponsors for the assault weapons ban, because it needed to happen yesterday. It is too late for us to not renew something that will save lives. And, yesterday, we also packed a hearing room. We were invited by Congressman Frost to pack a hearing room to make sure that our voices were heard. Unfortunately, we saw the horrific treatment by not only the members of Congress that were on that committee towards the Olivers, but we also saw that by Capitol Police. It was, people who we look up to. We look up to the Olivers. The Olivers always show up for us, support the youth, and we support them because we are in this fight together. And Patricia said right before, as she was forcibly removed, she told us to stay strong. They stayed strong while we were so terrified of people we respect and look up to who do so much for this movement, get treated so poorly. They stayed strong and told us to stay there so we could continue to demonstrate, to make sure our voices were heard. And we told those reps that we were not okay with the way that they are treating the Second Amendment and also treating friends, relatives, people we lose to gun violence every single year. That's 50,000 people that had friends and family every single year. All Americans are impacted by gun violence. Just the reality of, in this country, 3 million children every single year witness a shooting. That is sickening. We know these facts too. When an assault weapon is used in a mass shooting, more than 20 times as many people are injured and more than twice as many people are killed. In the past 10 years, there have been more than 25 high-profile mass shootings involving an assault weapon, in which more than 300 people were fatally shot and another 1,200 people were shot and survived. It's the guns. But this is not the future America's youth is condemned to. We are the generation that will end gun violence. An assault weapon ban will get us that much closer to that reality. I've had enough. I've had enough of the senseless violence. I've had enough of the leading cause of death for young people in the United States of America being gun violence. We have had enough of being told this is acceptable or normal as young people in this country. This is preventable. We know the solutions. We need our leaders to act and step up. And we're going to continue the fight. As I said, it has been so amazing working with this coalition because all these students care. They know that gun violence is personal. And we are going to continue to come back. We don't care how many times we have to march. We don't care how many times we have to protest. We are going to keep speaking up because this is not an issue that will just go away when the next election cycle comes. It's personal, and we will always keep fighting to remember those that we've lost and to make sure that America's future is safer and our kids can go to school without being scared of being shot. Our generation is resilient, and we will continue to fight because gun violence, as I said, it's personal. I want to thank Congresswoman Pelosi, Congressman Frost, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson, as well as Congressman Cicilline, who defended us also yesterday in the hearing. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. He made sure that no other people were thrown out to make sure we were still able to demonstrate. We need more leaders like them. We need a safer future for America's youth. Thank you all. Next, I am, this is someone I've been able to, be a part of some of these lobby meetings with this week and, talk up and close and personal with, and hear their story, is the Rubios. And I'm excited to announce Kim Rubio from Uvalde. From Robb Elementary. So, thank you so much, and please welcome her.
My name is Kimberly Rubio. My daughter, Lexi Rubio, is a victim of the Robb Elementary shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Today marks 10 months since I last saw my baby. Heard her voice, hugged her. Since then, I've taken every opportunity to share my daughter's story in hopes of honoring her life with action. Lexi's legacy is my greatest responsibility, and every time I speak, I give it everything I have. Today is no different, except today I have nothing to give. Today I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm frustrated by the inaction of our leaders. To them I say, if my words haven't resonated with you, maybe those of Lexi's 4 siblings will. Calissa, 18, a senior at the time of her sister's death and a fierce protector of her siblings, asked me, why didn't he go to my school? Why her school? Why her? David, then 14 and in disbelief, said, Dad, I was just with her this morning. I was just with her. Gia, who is only 11 months older than Lexi, and they shared a room since they were in cribs, said, "I don't want to be alone in the room." Julian, then 8, who was also at Robb Elementary that day, said, "Mom, it's not fair. Everyone else got 10 years with her, and I only got 8. Siblings are the groups of survivors often overlooked. Julian was on campus that day, and even though my other children were not, they all had to see their sister in a casket. This pain is far-reaching. This country has failed our children. America, why are we accepting this reality? We don't have to live like this." To the mom, sister, brother watching this or reading my words, join us. This fight is your fight.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to introduce myself. It's okay. My name is Celeste Iroha. I am a survivor of gun violence and domestic violence, and I founded Enough of Gun Violence last year summer during a business idea. I'm 26. I grew up when I had to, in high school, why was I preparing to know what to do in a shooting? Why would somebody be able to come to my school with a gun? I was 12 when I went to my first funeral for my cousin because he was shot and killed here in D.C. due to gun violence, and no suspect has been found yet. I was 13, and I'm 26 right now. I was almost killed myself because I was in an abusive relationship with a partner. I was sharing my story. I was going home from school one day at night, and I was threatened with a firearm to my back by 2 people in a mask. I don't know who they were. Later down the line, more people would lose their lives that I love to gun violence. Just 3 years ago, in 2020, the summer of the pandemic, we are in COVID. My uncle, who was a father of 4 and a husband to my aunt of 19 years, was shot and killed in Maryland just doing his job as a DoorDash driver. Failed robbery attempt is what they called it. The guy is caught, but he's a repeated offender. He has done more hurt and more pain to my family, to my aunt. I sit here and I'm asking, when will enough be enough? I graduate in 2 months from college here in DC. I want to walk that stage. But a person of color like me may not get that chance. I go home, I look around, and I'm always watching my back. Just because a police officer followed me the other day, I don't know why. I'm scared. This is the country that we live in. The norm is gun violence happening every day. What happened to the Olivers yesterday should not have happened. That could have been another George Floyd right there. And there's too many of that. People ask me, why do you do this work? What's important about it? What else could you do if you want to live? Why don't you want to protect people who are standing here side by side? We've had Sandy Hook, Columbine, Uvalde, Texas. We've had Parkland. How many more are we going to continue to have? So as y'all sit in the Capitol buildings behind me, you are going to realize that we're not going to sit down anymore and stay quiet. This is not going to be our norm. My mom, I love my mother, but she does not want me to do this work. She fears for me. I'm the outspoken one of my family. I want to live in a world full of peace, full of freedom. You guys focus so much on the Second Amendment. What about the other rights we have? What about the right to live? I want to live to I'm 75, retire, and move. But the way it's going, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm 26. Like I said, I work in healthcare. The reasons why ambulances come to my hospital is because of gun violence every day. In D.C. here, doctors, it's not obesity. It's not cancer. The cancer that is killing us is gun violence. That is a cancer, and it's also preventable at the same time. My uncle should still be here. Joaquin should still be here. The Rubio's child should still be here. Everybody here that has been impacted by gun violence, their loved ones should still be here. We're standing here with Sandy Hook survivors whose loved ones, whose friends, whose family members should still be here. When will enough be enough? We're not going to take this shit lying down anymore. We're going to make noise for the people in the White House, the Capitol building, all the house, that you can sit there and say that opioids is like the leading cause of death. Where do you see that happening? Where? I'm tired of always having to come to D.C. on this same issue when our right to live is more important than the piece of steel you're holding. The guns have been here before we got here, and they are going to be here when we die. So just remember, the shit that you're holding on to is going to be here when we're not. I have nothing else to say because I really just winged it. But I hope y'all are hearing me back there. Biden, I love you, but you can come out to these things because we know you can. I'm going to pass it on to Sedona Verrett. She is a 15-year-old that has probably experienced what I've experienced or more. She created her own organization, Survivors Demand, and she's doing something that no young person has to be doing in a country where they say we are number one. But guess what? We're number one in gun violence. Thank you.
My name is Sedona Verrett, and I'm from Potomac, Maryland. I'm 15 years old, and I'm the founder of Survivors Demand, an advocacy organization dedicated to ending gun violence at our schools. Gun violence has been the operating principle of my childhood. It has defined my life more than anything else. I was 5 when the Sandy Hook shooting happened. We lived in Montclair, New Jersey, a suburb of New York. With all the other mass shootings I watched on TV, I was horrified, but a bit detached from the communities where the victims and survivors lived. Sandy Hook changed all that. Sandy Hook was a local story for me, as well as a national tragedy for us all. It was the start of gun violence encroaching closer and closer to my life. When I started kindergarten, I was met with a world of new things. Going to the park, climbing trees, and play dates were replaced with teachers, books, and field trips. I was also introduced to a unique tradition, active shooter drills. These weren't like the typical fire drills previous generations grew up with. We were told to place our coats, backpacks, and other belongings in front of us. I can't see you, you can't see me, my teacher told us, as she shut the lights off, locked the doors, and drew the blinds. She then retreated back under her desk while the principal walked the halls, looking into classrooms to see if anyone was visible. Our teacher said that the reason we did those drills was in case some sort of wild animal got into the building. And I mean, technically she was telling the truth. We lived in a really wooded area, and on more than one occasion, a bear or mountain lion had been spotted at the edge of the forest. In the back of my mind, though, I knew why we did those drills. I knew we did them in case someone, a human, broke into the school and tried to hurt us. By 3rd grade, a lot had changed. We moved to Maryland. I started wearing glasses, and I was obsessed with Harry Potter even more than I was in kindergarten. A lot had changed in my life, but one thing remained. Gun violence was still the operating principle in my young life. I remember sitting at my desk and chatting with my best friend when the intercom came on. The receptionist at the front desk announced a shelter-in-place had been established. We learned that there had been a shooting at the mall down the street. Someone had opened fire in the parking lot and hit at least 2 people, one of whom had died. The Parkland massacre was 2 years later. By this time, I came to realize that our schools were turning into fortresses. Security systems were beefed up, and magnets were installed on every classroom door so that they could only be opened from the inside. I was in 7th grade in 2019, and things reached a whole new level. I went to a suburban public middle school in a high-performing school district. But gun violence would remain the operating principle of my childhood. Right before we went on winter break, an 8th grader went onto social media and announced, and I quote, "I'm going to school with my AR-15 and I'm going to kill all the N-words." Thankfully, the local police department got involved and he was removed from the school. But my parents had enough and I didn't return for 8th grade that fall. My new school was a private school, and my parents picked it because when we got back to in-person learning after virtual learning during COVID, we thought there'd be no possibility of a school shooting there, right? But this is America, and gun violence remained the operating principle of my generation. And sure enough, on April 22nd, 2022, a man armed with several semi-automatic weapons positioned himself on his balcony, which looked down on our school. He rigged one of the guns to be fully automatic atop a tripod-like device and began firing. It was a Friday, like today, and everyone was flooding the exits, eager to start their weekend. The shooting at my school, where this gunman fired 239 bullets into our building, didn't make national news, because several days later, the massacre in Buffalo happened, and then the tragedy at Uvalde happened 2 months after that. This is a message to the adults who can hear me. Sometimes I feel that adults think we, the children in this country, don't know how to solve big problems, that only adults can do that. But I reject that. I know as a 15-year-old, I have to take care of the next generation of little kids growing up with gun violence as the operating principle of their generation. So to all the adults, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to be held hostage to a narrow, selfish, and incorrect reading of the Constitution. We don't have to be victims of the gun lobby and the buying and selling of members of Congress. We don't have to settle for incremental changes when we have existential crises in this country. We can imagine a world where our schools are safe. We can advocate for laws that make common sense. And we can demand action as parents, as students, and as survivors of gun violence. Let us not yield to gun violence as the operating principle of this country. Let us not get weary in the battle to bring peace to our schools. Let us be forever fearless, forever relentless, and forever vigilant until every child, in every school, in every community, is safe. Next, I'd like to introduce Jordan. Just a massive thanks. She helped put on this whole event, and I owe it all to her. So, welcome.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. First, I know that I'm probably like the millionth person to say this today, but I want to thank you all for being here. It's cold. It was raining earlier. I think I'm developing trench foot at this point. This is not what we thought this would be, but oh my God, it feels like a million times better. You're all incredible for being out here. I'm so grateful to work with you, to know you, and to be speaking in front of you. I initially introduced myself as a co-organizer of this week's events, which paints a pretty good but not perfect picture of my involvement with the gun violence prevention movement. I'm an organizer and I'm a speaker, but I'm also a survivor of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting that occurred on December 14th, 2012, that robbed my community of 20 first graders and 6 educators. I've been working with the Newtown Action Alliance since my freshman year of high school, when actually it was Jackson that introduced me to this. I walked into that classroom where this meeting was being held, and I saw him and I saw Poe Murray, and that was where it all began. And once again, I want to thank you for being here because you care. And I want to say that I'm here because the work that I do is so that others may live. because my community was robbed. And let me tell you, our goal is justice for the youth of America because we are being robbed. We spend our youth looking over our shoulders, sitting in our classrooms, hearts in our mouths at the sound of a door slamming down the hall, eyeing the windows, gauging the drop to the ground. Would we make it? Would we survive? Or is that any better or worse than what's behind the barricaded classroom door? Can a stapler be used as a weapon? How about a pen? Anybody ever held a pen like this? Or thought about it? Or what you would do with it? Will a desk stop a bullet? If I hold my breath and I lie very, very still, will they think I'm dead? We do not have to live like this. And more than that, we don't have to die like this. This is America, and we are failing our youth. We are simply surviving when we could be living. And that is the truth that we must aim to change. You're all here, like I said, because you care. You're skipping class right now. Maybe you're skipping work. You've structured your day around coming to this rally. And that is the single most underrated thing that carries this entire movement. Your passion combats the apathy of Congress, of a gun lobby that would rather see kids traumatized, wounded, or dead than accept their role in America's gun violence problem. And make no mistake, America has a gun violence problem. It should have been obvious after Sandy Hook. It should have been even more obvious after Parkland, after Las Vegas, Pulse, Buffalo, Uvalde, MSU, Highland Park. I could go on and you guys would be listening to me say these names for days. And that is sickening and disgusting. And it is also uniquely American. And at the center of this issue is easy access to weapons that should have never made their way into civilian hands in the first place. There is no functional purpose for a weapon like an AR-15. You can't hunt with it. You can't defend your home with it, not easily anyways. It is made to kill a large amount of people in a short amount of time, and that is all. In 10 minutes, 58 people were killed and 867 injured in the Las Vegas shooting. In Sandy Hook, in 5 minutes, 26 dead. We are asking too much of many people in our nation. We are asking too much of our first responders, whose job it is not only to stop the shooter, but to respond to these traumatizing scenes that are left behind. We are asking too much of our educators and our school personnel who lay down their lives for their students. And lastly, we are asking too much of the youth of this nation. As I sat crouched in the gym of Sandy Hook Elementary, I listened as my teachers and my principal turned on the loudspeaker system to warn us that even as they were gunned down, that they were thinking of us and that they wanted to save us. This is not a responsibility that they should take on, and we should not have to go through it. And once again, let me reiterate that we are asking too much of the youth of this nation, and we are asking too little of our elected leaders. They have the greatest power to change the conversation around gun violence and to stop this issue, to protect the future of our youth, and to prioritize lives over guns. Our cries have fell on deaf ears, but no longer, because Gen Z is growing up. We are mobilizing, and we won't stop until the fear of going to school is a relic of the past. We will find strength in pain, as we always have, and we will continue until we have to no more. And we might be Generation Lockdown, but if it's up to us, we will be the last generation that will ever claim that title. Thank you. And now, a slight deviation of the program. Manny Oliver, he speaks for himself. Come on up.
Okay. Hi everyone. Here we are again. I'm Patricia Oliver. I'm the proud mom of Joaquin, Oliver, and Andrea. And I'm just here to let you know that we cannot give up. That we need to let everybody know in any possible way what this issue is about. We need to train, we need to educate, because people in government, they pretending to use the wrong words and misunderstanding what the Second Amendment means, and no banning assault weapons. We need to be clear. Use every single way, every single social media platform that you have, your neighbors, your community, your friends, represent them and give that passion that you have to be here today and pass it to them. And then we're going to raise more and more voices. We are here, we are representing our loved ones. I love you, Joaquin. I love you, and I thank you for being the way you are and keeping us here. I promised few of you yesterday it won't rain during our event, and here we are. Because Joaquin has his job. He's making his job from heaven. He has the power. And then to finish this, I will read something that I get, a line that I got from heaven. 1 second. That means a lot. So somebody from heaven sent me this line to read it to you. We need freedom from political tyranny. And that's our job as well. Thank you, darlings. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. So I want to make very short the beginning of this so we can move on to where the real problem is. But I was asked yesterday, you shut up and sit down or you get arrested. We can all get arrested. And it's really totally irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. So now let's go back to where the real problem is. The real problem, the real story about yesterday was happening way before I got arrested. The lies that were said in that room. Everyone should be able to have access to those lies so you can see who is representing us. Making the issue another one. The enemy from yesterday was the ATF. Believe it or not, that's where the damage is according to them. The guns and the violence in Mexico is the problem. But of course, the chairman did not mention that the guns in Mexico are made in USA and are trafficked daily through our border states. But they don't care about that because they will protect the gun industry no matter what. And they had no idea that Joaquin's mom was right there to point her finger at them and call them out. Because she does that. Believe me, you don't want to mess with Patricia. You don't. So, motivation time. I am here because of this. This is the reason why we're in DC. And we are doing this today. I love art. Brett, where are you? Dude, you're an artist. What you did here, we are recording that and we're putting it out there. We're going to send it everyone. Everyone needs to listen to that. That's art. And then now we have a member of Congress. There is a musician. That's art. And today we're painting. We're doing the largest painting that Change the Ref has done since the last 5 years. But I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to need some volunteers. There's a huge canvas right behind the stage. We're going to have some music from Gabrielle while we paint. And guess what? You're going to remove your shoes and socks. And what we're going to do is that we're going to put our footprints Because what is it that we do every day? We march. And we want to make sure that you know in a more graphic way that we will continue to march. We will march, march, and march for our lives. And we're going to keep on doing that until there is no reason to march. So, with that said, I want how many volunteers you think we can get here. Remove your shoes, remove your socks, and every white space on that canvas, walk over it. You will find some trays with colors. There's no rules. In this room, the chairman is Joaquin Oliver for that painting. And the only rule is to show them that we will never stop marching. Let's go for it. Gabriel, please welcome to the stage. And thank you everybody for your support since yesterday and for your support today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Hi, I will be providing some background music. I'm going to start out with like a sad, angry protest song and get progressively more upbeat. Yeah. I don't know how many songs I don't know how long we're painting for, but.
Here. Sorry. I'm just gonna. I don't know. I have no idea where she is.
Who are you looking for?
Oh, do you want an umbrella for your instrument?
It would be nice, but is there a place to put it? Because I can't hold it. Sure, thank you so much.
Oh.
Those are the best.
It was good.
This song is called Guns to a Playground Fight. It was written in the days following the shooting at Robb Elementary School. And as of this week, the streaming and downloads have raised $500 for Lives Robbed. Woo! Yay!
Shootings with Columbine in 1990. By now I'd be desensitized. Sandy Hook when I was in 7th grade. How naive was I to believe things would change? But that's the America we live in. That's the America we grew up in. Don't you know? That's the America we fight for, even though they fight back at us as they chant pro-life, bringing the guns to a playground fight. I graduated college just like me. I don't think about how I was lucky to make it all the way through. Just bombing and hearing from friends at Recruiter and Great Hills, and seeing it on the news, and the grief and anxiety, but never the real thing. No, never the real thing. And that's the America we live in. That's the America we grew up in. Don't you know? That's the America we fight for, even though they fight back at us as they chant pro-life, bringing their guns to playgrounds. Fight, fight. And my friends, they never hear the end.